I've been making a lot of new digital work lately, and shapes and forms are a key part of what I create. But I find that it's easy when you're making a lot of work, either digitally or in your sketchbook or wherever. It's really easy to get stuck in the same type of routine. And I haven't opened my art journal in a while. So I thought it would be a great idea to get some inspiration from my older sketchbook. This is a completed one, I think from last year, and see what kind of interesting shapes and compositions I can find there, transfer them over to this art journal so that I can isolate them a bit, and then see how I can incorporate those new shapes or new compositions that I find into my digital work to make it a bit more interesting and to put a fresh spin to it. I have here just my Prismacolor pencils, my Bosco pen, graphite pencils, and I also have this ink pen. I think it's a Pentel brush pen, but I'm not 100% sure because it's all written in Japanese. But I might use this as well for some blobs of black paint. So we'll see, black ink rather. So we'll see. But first, let's find this. Let's find some pages that I can use. I've been really loving using this Get Messy art journal for exploration, really, and trying a lot of different things that I would normally not try. And I really like that there's different types of paper in here. And these little pockets are also really interesting. So I've even started putting in some found words and phrases, which has been really fun. And I want to try collaging on a few as well. But that's for another day. I think I'm going to go for these thicker mixed media pages, and the shapes I tend to gravitate towards, they're all very rounded. There's a lot of ovals, a lot of circles or curved lines. So I want to see if I can find something a bit different today. This is the last page that I did just as a little exercise, which is quite fun, but I'm using this journal very sporadically. I started using it chronologically first, and then I wanted to keep some of the vellum pages for other projects. So that's what ended up happening. And I also like that it pretty much lays flat. I don't really even need to clip it down, especially since I'm not going to be using any water. So now that we have that, let's have a look at this sketchbook. I haven't opened it, I think, since the middle of last year. Oh, September 2023. This is when I started it and completed it in February last year. So it's actually been over a year that I've completed it. So there's a lot of these rounded shapes in here. Also a lot of blobby shapes, which are always really fun, but I want to see if there's anything that's a little bit different that I can try out just for a bit of variety and to give me some fresh ideas. I'm going to start with this line on the top, this graphite line, because I quite like how rough it is. And I'm just going to make these essentially into a collection, I guess, and then we take it from there. And I'm not trying to copy it exactly, but just give it an idea, try to capture some of the essence of it all. Let's see. I've really liked these two pages. These two are really fun. This always reminded me of, actually, I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking about something different, but previously it reminded me of a crocodile. Now I'm looking at it and I'm seeing an angry clown, and this is kind of its nose and teeth, and the color even does look a bit like an angry clown, doesn't it? So I'm going to go with, I'm going to use this navy, violet blue. I'm going to use that. And the idea I have here is to, because I don't have, I guess I could use the Pentel pen for this black area, but I'm going to go in and try to recreate this shape first. Again, I'm not looking for it to be exact. This is just to, spark my imagination and give me some ideas that I can then work on. I find that I don't often refer back to my sketchbooks, which is kind of a shame because they serve as a journal, right? As something to record your mood with or your experiences or just to practice in. But they can also be a really great collection of references to be able to look back on. And I don't really do that at all. So I thought this would be a great exercise just for that. This pen is also this brush pen. It's so nice, but I find it really tricky to use for some reason. I'm just not used to using brush pens at all. So I never know how to use it properly, though it does leave a really nice texture. And it's really interesting to see how now I'm recreating this sketch, and it's reminding me of something completely different. So this one was first an alligator, now an angry clown, but this is reminding me of a landscape, really, some trees or bushes or something, a sun, mountains in the background, and then this black mist, I guess. So it looks a bit spooky. This is kind of fun. I also quite like this page that's adjacent to the angry clown because of the emptiness here, but at the same time there are some lines, repetitive lines going back and forth. So I think this one, maybe I'll make it just over here, but small, just to see. What it would look like. So something like this. And I'm going to, instead of filling this, because I used acrylic on that other one for the purple, I'm going to just go with the pencil for that pop of color. But I'm going to leave it empty and see what that looks like. And I will add some black on this side. Because this one, the original, digitally for what I'm making at the moment, for the style of abstract art that I create, it's not really workable. But this could be because it's a lot more simplified. So this could be an interesting one to try. Let's see while this dries. Let's move that over here. While this dries, I'm going to see what else we have going on here. This combination is not something that I would ever use. I'm not sure where it came from. Now this page, it's probably is not to everyone's taste, and it looks almost childish and very simple. But there is just something that I love about it. I think it's just so expressive, and not overthought at all, that I'm really, really drawn to it. But I'm not sure. Maybe if I take just this bottom half, then I would be able to work with. No, this one doesn't quite work. I do really like it as a whole, but I think one of the key features that makes it work is because the sketchbook was in a horizontal format, and it allowed me to really exaggerate this shape and stretch it out across both pages. So I think that's one of the things that really makes it work for me. But when I'm working digitally, I mostly go for vertical, sometimes horizontal, but it's still not going to be this exaggerated. So I'll try going just with this part. Let's see how I can put it. I'm just going to have to put this like this and try not to get distracted by the other part. And if I were to recreate it, I would probably go like this, actually. I'm a bit scared to put this on here because I think the ink hasn't fully dried. So I'm just going to try to make something like this, and hopefully you'll still be able to see and follow along. So I like how it goes from top to bottom here, and that this area is left empty. And in my digital work, I leave a lot of empty space or space with very subtle changes that are not really that obvious. So let's see. I'm going to also grab a pencil here to grab the same violet blue. Let's see if I go like this. I think that would look quite nice. And I'm going to go for a red for the contrast. I've started using a lot of red over these last few weeks, which was interesting, and I actually quite like using it now. It's not a color that I'm drawn to normally, but trying something new, whether it's a color that's a bit different or a different shape, like what I'm trying to find in here, is really refreshing. And I actually think that I will leave it here. It's a lot more simplified than this version, and this would work for me. I think this looks quite nice. I'm still worried about that ink, but let's see what else we have going on in here. These shapes are just paint, really. There's not much going on. This is another one that I really like, the gun, because it's so elongated. I wonder how I could make this work. I think this could work actually both this way and the other way as two separate pieces, maybe as a series of two. And see how different it looks if you just have these pages like this, separately and together. They just look completely different in my eyes. Maybe I am exaggerating, but to me, they look completely different. I'm going to try to go carefully here so I don't get ink all over the other page, although if I do, it doesn't really matter that much because it's just my art journal. It's nothing crazy. So I'm going to try, I think, adding this shape first. Let's see if I go like this. Yeah, let's try this shape first. There's a lot of wiggly ones. I might leave this blob of paint out of the picture, but we will see. We will see. Okay. That's a nice swirl. And if I go for a darker color, or maybe even just graphite for this part. It's not simplifying this. This looks like a flower to me, which is great. Maybe I could even add some of these kind of lines here. There we go. Something like that. I think that might be quite an interesting one to explore. Did I smudge the paint? Yes, I did a bit, but we're just going to have to live with it. I'm going to need to pick a different page to make sure that I don't smudge the ink again. And now this one is going to be a bit trickier, I think, because there's a lot going on, so we'll see. And I think if we go like this, I really want to make more horizontal pieces this year, but for some reason, I'm just drawn to positioning everything vertically. I don't know why, it just comes more naturally, but then sometimes when I accidentally open the canvas and it's horizontal, sometimes it just looks completely different and creates a totally different impression of the artwork. And there's been a few times where it looked like I couldn't figure out how to resolve the piece, how to finish it, what else to add, and then I flip it horizontally and I straight away see it differently and see what it's missing. So I think that's another thing that I need to do more of. This one I'm not so sure about. Now I've transferred it over here. I don't think it's my favorite. There's quite a lot of lines going on. It could be a fun one to try, but it's not, out of the ones that I've tried today so far, it's not a favorite of mine. I think this was this way. These ones I really like. Again, they're so simple, and that's what I really like about them. It almost makes me want to make a piece that just has a solid background. Most of the backgrounds that I create at the moment, there's a lot of graduating changes, there's a lot of color going in and out, but this makes me want to create something solid. And again, I want to put it like this. I want to put it vertically and then have this continuous chaotic line going through it. Let's try that. Let's see. Whoops. Let's see what that would look like. I'm gonna find another page. Where is this one? The one that I was scared of smudging. It's almost dry. I should have actually put just a sheet of paper in here, but I always forget to do that. So we'll just have to live with it. And I'll try using this side. to see what I can do. And graphite, when I'm just working in my journal, graphite is one of those. This is a vellum page. This might be interesting to try. Graphite is one of those things that I love. I love incorporating because I think it gives it kind of like an unfinished look, but in a good way. Let's see. With paint, this is so much easier to make because you essentially just smudge it and you end up with something really nice. Although this one is quite interesting to me. These vellum pages are so nice. They just really make you look at your work a bit differently. And then some of these lines could be a bit thicker or a bit messier. Don't like that I put the weights of all of them on the same side. Let's make this whole thing thicker. That's better, but I think this one needs to get thickened also. So what else is going on? This one also is one of my favorites. And this is actually, I think, out of everything, more similar to my digital work in the sense that there's an accent color, there are minimal marks, and you have these curved shapes. But I made this page way before I started making that kind of digital abstracts in general, really, and especially the type that I'm making right now. So I guess this kind of helped push me there. Let's see how we can recreate it. I'm going to go with a black pencil, which is not typical for me. But I'm going to try to create this is almost like a spiral in this interpretation. And I have been really liking spirals. I don't know why, they're just a bit hypnotic to me. This is getting somewhere. Might be onto something. I'm going to add a bit of the black ink in here, but not too much, so that it hopefully doesn't take too long to dry, but I think it might be an interesting accent. I'm trying to keep this line clean. Does that make it worse? I kind of think that it might have. But this is what a sketchbook or an art journal is for, right? To try different things out. And then here we can add this loose accent. think that's quite an interesting shape. I'm not a fan of this blob, but maybe if I add some marks to it. Not a fan of how this one turned out, even though it is the closest to what I'm making now. So let's see if there's anything else that sparks my interest. These are just very chaotic for me now. Again, I need to figure out how to incorporate this elongated shape into my digital art without messing up the proportions, because I really enjoy this stretch. I think it's really nice, makes you look at things a bit differently. This one I really like, and this actually ended up making me create a bigger piece on paper inspired by this, which is one of my favorites. In general, I really like these gray tones, even though I didn't use gray paint for this. It was a really watered down black with something else added, if I remember correctly, maybe with a bit of purple. I can't quite recall. And this is the first time I was trying out these Prismacolor pencils. And this is a bit of more Miro style technique. This was the first time I was trying colored pencils. I didn't really know what on earth to do with them, but it was interesting. This shape I actually really enjoy. This looks like a flower, a very childish looking flower. And I think this could work for me also. Again, this blob of black that I decided to add for no particular reason is going to haunt me now. Let's just see if it smears. Hopefully not. But you never know. I'm going to try to hold this page in place and just work with this one. And the good thing about this shape as well is that this can really be turned any which way, and you can kind of either see the same things. So to me, this looks like a flower this way, but also a flower when I turn it upside down, just a sad looking flower, or a daisy, or an elephant even. You can also basically put it whichever way you want. So I'm going to, because this is horizontal, I'm going to try to make it vertical here and see what that would look like. And instead of this purple, I'm just going to make a graphite blob. It really bothers me when I can't connect the line. This one is obviously still very, very rounded, very blobby, but the different lines create an effect that I don't really use in my work at the moment. So I think this could be an interesting one to interpret. And I think we're at the end of this sketchbook, really. Yeah, this is the last page on the swatches that I did. So this has been a really fun exploration. There are some pages like this one I'm definitely going to give a go. Let's see, this transferred over. This one I really like as well. I think this this actually looks like a silhouette of a person with a really big nose. And this one I might give a go and just see how I can incorporate it into my work and just leave the lines, maybe blur them out a bit, but this not a fan of. This one, maybe. It's quite simple, so maybe not, but we'll see. What else do we make here? This one I will definitely give a go because it's so simple, but I can do a lot with it. So I think this will be a good one to try. Same as these three. So this individual line, this angry clown turned landscape, and this also kind of looks like a landscape to me with the sun really, really low down, burning the earth, and a shadow underneath. So these four really I'm going to give a try, and our other friends, or the two friends, this one and this one. So that's 6. There's only three that I don't really like that much after transferring them over and after simplifying them. But I think that's a really good start, and it's a great exercise for me to think a bit differently, to come out of that same routine and the same process that I've been following for a couple of months now, because I just get bored after a while and I want to try something different. I want to elevate my work and incorporate some new features, some new elements. So doing an exploration like this, where I don't have to think from scratch, so to say, because I would have for sure just gone down the route of my typical rounded shapes, blobby shapes, even though some of these are round and blobby, but they're quite different to what I'm doing at the moment. So yeah, I hope you found this interesting and enjoyed following along with me. I think this is a great exercise for anyone to try if you're feeling a bit stagnant and you want to just push yourself a little bit and see if you can bring some of your old work into your new work. Doing something like this would be great, I think. Once I try these out, I'll be sure to post them on the community tab so you can have a look and see what these sketches ended up looking like digitally. I'm sure they will be nothing exactly like what this is, but this will give me some ground to start working on. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. And thanks for following along. I'll see you soon.